What should we call this one?
The first thing I think of is like not even the biggest part of the story. It's just
That
stabbed me.
The lady sister spiritually fucked.
The sister.
That sister is spiritually fucked.
Sister. Yeah.
A lot of people are spiritually fucked, but specifically that sister. She should be the hardest to be spiritually fucked.
Yeah. I'm feeling shooketh.
Yeah.
By the idea. So yeah, that sister.
That's that sister. I bet you I can find her name. Okay.
I'm just going to not change anything about what's going on here.
Because I'm like... Your feet on boxes.
Hand on my hip, my feet on boxes. It's whatever. It's good. It's ergonomic.
Right? I know. So last time we recorded, we were in the garage, which had better acoustics. So we're going to see how this goes. We're back here in a metal box.
We're in the box. The garage is getting a facelift, if you will.
Yeah, we were like, we found a perfect spot.
And then Tommy's like, you know what I could do to this garage? Wait a minute.
So great for us.
I know. It's actually rad, though.
In the long run, it will be great for us.
Yeah.
Because then we can, like, make this not so echoey in here. Okay, so today we will be talking about Yogi Bhajan. Do you know?
Yogi what?
Yogi Bhajan.
Bhajan. No.
Okay.
Like nothing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. This is nice.
So before we start, there's two things that we kind of need to have reference to, or two things that we kind of need to give background on. I feel like I'm really loud right now. Okay, no, never mind. That's fine.
That's fine.
So there's two things that we kind of need a little bit of background on. And one is lineage. So lineage refers to the historical succession of knowledge passed from teacher to student. Eventually, the student becomes a teacher in their own right and then passes down what they've learned to even more students. So it's kind of like a tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
The student is able to gain insight and wisdom not only from their own teacher, but from the teachers that came before them. And according to Yogipedia, which is a thing.
I love that.
I know.
I've never heard of that before.
Yogipedia. The result of lineage is an instruction that is enriched by many perspectives and free from the influence of any one teacher's ego. It also gives these teachers more legitimacy. In an established lineage, you should be able to trace the chain of teachers back pretty far.
Okay. So, like, teachers shouldn't be putting their own spin on it, like keep
Not
it,
that
like
they
protect
shouldn't,
it.
But I think that with a lineage, you're like, okay, I know what I'm getting. It's like you automatically have the backing of this principled school of yoga.
Okay.
So yoga lineages are usually pretty popular. And it wasn't until, I want to say the 80s that like there was really this kind of non-linear schools that started to form here in the US that anyone knew about.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the first thing we need to know about is lineage and how kind of important it is in the yoga world. The second thing is Kundalini Yoga. Do you know anything about
None.
Kundalini?
I've heard it, but I don't know anything of it.
Okay. So, oftentimes we here in the West call it Kundalini, but over in the East, it's called Kundalini. But that is not how I was ever taught to say it. And so it feels very inauthentic for me to say it to say it in the authentic way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to say Kundalini and know it's wrong. So there's that. But in Kundalini, it's believed that divine energy rests at the base of your spine, and then when it's activated, kind of coils up through the 6 chakras and into the 7th, which is the crown of the head. So it's all in order to liberate oneself from your own karma.
Huh.
Karma meaning the kind of wheel of reciprocity that kind of comes back to bite you in the ass, or give gifts to you.
Or give
have
gifts.
good-
Yeah,
if
good. You give good.
energetic
You get
gifts.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it involves a postural practice, but it's more so like
I cannot help but like sit straighter
when I said
when we talk
postural. Oh, when you talk about the spine and it just like
all
coils
of it.
up.
This whole moment just made me sit straighter. So thank you.
So Kundalini Yoga did it for you.
Also hearing Kundalini now also feels, I've only heard it like maybe 2-3 times in my life.
Yeah.
But now I've heard the right way to say it. And I feel like we're doing it a disservice, but we continue.
Yeah. We are.
We are,
but it is what it is. So it does involve like a very physical practice, but it's more precise and repetitive. And it's more of like it's a lot of really intense breath work.
Okay.
Chanting, that little bit of movement, a lot of like mudras. So like doing things with your hands. And it's in this specific sequence.
This is where I heard it from when I took his class.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, go on.
We'll beep that name right on
yeah.
out there. So it's a lot of, and they're called kriyas, right? They're these like ways in order to channel this energy. And so it's meant to prepare the nervous system, body, and mind to handle the Kundalini rising. And so oftentimes a lot of Kundalini practitioners, they wear like the white turbans, they dress in all white. So it's a very like kind of distinct practice than you would see outside of the yoga studios that we usually practice at.
Right.
Yogi Bhajan is primarily responsible for bringing his own brand to the West. And when people refer to Kundalini Yoga, they're usually referring to, I have to look at it because it's a lot of letters, KYATBYB, or Kundalini Yoga as taught by Yogi Bhajan, which is...
That is the longest acronym.
Yes.
That's a reach.
And it does not flow.
No.
It does not flow. But so usually when people are talking about, but there is a separate Kundalini yoga community outside of that. And a lot of people now don't teach KYATB blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Or sorry, that's disrespectful. KYATBYV. So a lot of people don't practice that or teach that anymore, but a lot do.
Okay.
So now to the beginning of the story. Harbhajan Singh Khalsa was born on August 26, 1929 to a wealthy Sikh family in modern Pakistan. His father worked for the British Raj as a doctor, and though he was raised a Sikh, he attended Catholic school because colonialism.
Mm-hmm.
But he was always a devoted... Wait. I can't see my notes anymore. So he was always a really devoted Sikh practitioner and was very interested in his father's practice of medicine, which at the time included Ayurveda, which is also really popular within the yoga community.
Mm-hmm.
At this time, he alleges that he began his yogic training at 8 and by 16 and a half had mastered Kundalini Yoga.
Oh, wow.
This is not true.
Is this self-proclaimed?
Yeah, this is self-proclaimed. This is not true, but more on that later.
He's trying to make him sound like...
Yeah, he was like,
come
guess
from
what?
a great family, and also, guess what? I'm stellar as well.
Yeah. My dad's a doctor, but
all
Kundalini genius over here.
Yeah.
In 1947, when he was 18, he and his family fled to New Delhi during the religious violence leading up to the partition of India, which was when the country was split into the Muslim majority Pakistan and the Hindu majority India. Which, have you seen Miss Marvel? The TV show? The Marvel show?
Oh, no. I was thinking Marvelous Miss Maisel. Nope.
No. Complete opposite. No, complete opposite. Oh,
Nope.
They have a part. They have like a whole storyline about partition, the Indian-Pakistan partition.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it was very scary and like a lot of like trauma. Anyway.
Yeah. Nani's family from Pakistan, they are all Catholic and they fled.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So colonialism for them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's when they came here.
That's crazy.
I know.
In New Delhi, he went to college with other refugees. It was kind of a slapdash operation, but he became an active member of the Sikh Students' Federation and later graduated with a master's in economics. By 1953, I know.
That's
good.
Yeah.
He's doing it.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Good for him.
By 1953, Bhajan was working for the Indian government and had a highly regarded job as a customs agent at the Palam airport and had gotten married to a woman named Inderjeet Kaur, later known later known and most commonly known as BBG, which is like
BBG.
so cute.
Yeah.
And she was actually very cute. Probably complicit, but very cute.
I mean, I feel like that's pretty standard
I know.
for, you know.
So they had met 2 years prior. His parents arranged for him to meet her. She was only 17 at the time of their meeting.
And he was
then,
how old? I'm sorry.
I think he was 23.
Okay. No age shaming going on. 17 is young, but not probably back then.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
What? Yeah.
I mean,
I've heard of much crazier age gaps when parents are getting involved. Like arranged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just dawned on me. So we've been watching a lot of Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. And the whole thing is that like Scott is 23 and he's dating a high schooler who's like 17. Same exact age difference.
When I see somebody who's 23 dating somebody in high school, I'm like, what do they have that you want? Like, what possibly could you love them for? Because they're still so young. Like it's hard to get to know. Like, I get it. I was 17 once and I thought I knew everything about myself and everything was figured out and blah, blah, blah. But when in such different like stages in your life, what is it that you like about this 17-year-old child? Nothing?
Mm-hmm.
I do know. Nothing for me. Nada. Nada, yada, yada.
So she came from a wealthy family, and in those days, girls didn't have a say in who they were married to, obviously. So she says, and this is a quote, "The next day I came back from college and discovered a party going on in my home. And when I asked what was happening, they said, 'It's your engagement party.'"
I felt that coming.
I replied, "Oh, you mean that boy I met yesterday?"
Oh my God.
She just was like,
"Oh, that boy
okay.
I met just yesterday?
Just yesterday? Cool.
This is going down? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks."
So they were engaged for 2 years so that she could finish college.
Oh.
And be of like a somewhat legal age, I guess, although I don't know what the legal marriage age back then was. And they were married in 1955 and eventually had 3 kids. Sometime in the early 60s, Bhajan began studying Hatha Yoga with Swami Dhirendra Brahmachari in New Delhi. Dhirendra Brahmachari was a very popular yoga teacher, and he'd caught the eye of... I am so sorry for anyone who has to listen to this.
It's going to be bad. Take a breath. Take a breather. Take a beat.
Jawaharlal Nehru.
That was not that bad. You've practiced.
Internally, I did practice.
I
and
know.
Internally, as I was saying it, my soul left my body because I was like, I'm sorry for whoever I offended, because he's very famous.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He was the first prime minister of India.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so he caught the eye of Nehru, and then he was hired to teach yoga to his daughter. His daughter was Indira Gandhi, who in the early 60s was a political powerhouse because she was working with her dad, doing all of this badass shit. And then
as a young girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And then by 66, she became the first and only female prime minister of India.
Oh my God.
Side note, Brahmachari would end up having a very prolific role as her advisor and was often referred to as the Indian Rasputin.
Oh.
I thought, do you know who Rasputin is? I thought that would be. So wait.
On the pod. What was the other word? I was like, Dickensian?
Dickensian. So I thought that might be your reaction. Archie from The Great.
From The Great. Oh.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So I put that in parentheses.
Thank you.
Because I knew.
Because you needed
this
to
might
translate.
Be a little sketch.
Yeah, thank you.
So he was basically like Archie from The Great.
Okay.
And she was Catherine.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So can get a little... And he did a lot of kind of like finagling to lift his own status.
Mm-hmm.
So Brahmachari's teachings were described as, quote, a subtle practice aiming at cleansing the nervous, nadis, and glandular systems in order to achieve higher awareness in the body.
Did I hear nervous, naughty?
Nervous and naughty.
And naughty.
The nadis are these like energetic channels that like go through your body.
Oh, I thought you meant like... Like naughty.
Ooh, the nervous system's real
Yeah, I'm
naughty.
getting so hot. I literally was like, oh, okay.
No, the naughties are like this like energetic, like subtle body system that can get activated as you practice in a certain way or you meditate in a certain way. There's different poses activate different naughties.
Okay.
Kind of, yeah.
You're welcome for everybody, because maybe you didn't know that either.
Most likely no one did. I mean, based on who's listening.
Yeah.
Probably. I should have known better. I should have known. The former director of the ashram described Bhajan as a regular to Dhirendra's classes, but not a devout student. Meanwhile, BBG, his wife, was a student of Maharaj Versa Singh. Versa Singh was 8 years younger than Bhajan, but had a similar background. He was born in present-day Pakistan, fled to present-day India during partition, and was deeply affected by the trauma. So at an early age, he was very introspective. He would meditate for hours a day. He would kind of disconnect from society and just kind of like go into himself.
Wow.
And he ended up becoming the spiritual leader, often performing miracles and healing members of the community. Miracles I'm putting in quotes, and I did them very subtly, but no one can see that because we're on a podcast.
Yeah, but I picked up what you were putting
Yeah, Jess
down.
made a face.
I was like, miracles.
He ran an ashram called Gobind Sadan outside of New Delhi, and although he was highly revered, he had no lineage.
Okay.
So Dhirendra Brahmachari had a very deep lineage. So all of his teachers can be traced back generations.
Right.
Versus saying none. He
Straight,
was like,
brand
this is
new,
my own thing.
has nothing to
However,
go from.
he's not a yogi, he's a Sikh. So he has his own ashram, but it's a Sikh ashram, like a religious ashram. And so this kind of comes into play later. So BBG sent Bhajan to Singh, and he became a very devoted student because he obviously is also a Sikh too. He ends up bringing other students into Singh's orbit, and early on, Bhajan would tell students that after working a shift at Palam Airport, he would go straight to Gobind Sadan and clean the toilets there. And that Maharaj Versa Singh was so touched by his devotion that he touched his third eye, giving Bhajan cosmic consciousness.
Oh.
This story has never been confirmed.
Like a little gift.
Yeah.
Good looking out. Thanks for the
He booped him on the third eye and
Yeah.
was like,
The toilets are glistening. Thank you. I appreciate that. Here.
So the story has never been confirmed. It also has been adapted over the years as his story changes.
Okay.
In 1968, Bhajan immigrated to Toronto ahead of his family. So he leaves them behind originally to start an import-export business.
Okay.
Which makes sense because he's a customs agent working in an airport. In Canada, he teaches some yoga, but soon gets a woman pregnant and flees to Los Angeles.
Oh, no. So he left BBG, 3 kids. Loser.
I know.
Oh, yeah. I kind of felt like that was going to happen. Like the second, no, I mean, I shouldn't speak for everybody or for every situation, but the second a man leaves his family, his whole family, and like is starting brand new, you know, too many things
In
to
the
get
60s,
into. Too many things to dabble into.
Very patriarchal times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yuck.
That's a bummer.
So LA in 1968 was a hub of like hippie counterculture. The Beatles had just visited the Maharishi in India, so they were introducing Indian themes into their music and talking about transcendental meditation. People were experimenting with psychedelics, smoking
I
weed.
felt that coming.
I know, looking for a deeper meaning to life outside of the boxes they were raised in.
That tracks, yeah.
A Vice documentary referred to this time as a spiritual gold rush. So it was just like wide open for basically anyone that was basically brown to come over and be like, guess what?
Yeah. I feel like
It also a lot of white people pretending to be brown.
To be all of a sudden, it was like the in thing.
I feel like this is the origin of where people were like, I'm 1/8 Cherokee.
Yeah. Oh, no.
So it's okay if I wear all this shit.
Yeah.
And you're like, no.
No, actually, it's
super
wild that you're even thinking it's appropriate to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, I feel like that was a time where, like, much like, not exactly like it is today, but people figuring themselves out and like it being normal and cool and like trendy almost to be free or to be, but yeah, no, I feel like at that time it's, like, let's get weird, let's get wild, let's,
Well,
dig.
and it also was like this time when like I feel like a lot of parents during World War II they sacrificed, had this box of people trying to fit in. And then this is around the time of like Vietnam, around the time where they're like, this isn't working for us. We're looking for something different. We're looking to break out of what like this kind of clean cut society wants us to be.
Whatever
we don't
this
fit
is
into the box.
not working for us. So let's and like explore and figure it out and find new ways to find meaning and fulfillment and all those things. So yeah, I get.
So at first he was probably thinking that this import-export business could be very lucrative. So he's going to sell like fabric and beads.
That's what I was going to ask. What is he importing and exporting?
Like shit from India that all of these white people are going to be like,
I want it.
I want
it's going to make me look real. I want
real.
that. It's going to make me look real authentic. Forget the 100% white
so
in me.
It kind of seems like a no-brainer. He ends up being passed around in LA a lot. And Philip Deeslip, who is this scholar who has done all this digging and wrote this like amazing article on the origins of Yogi Bhajan and 3HO, his organization, interviewed some of these people. And they said he was pushy, kind of creepy and overbearing. So they were like, bye, you gotta go.
I love this fresh perspective who like doesn't like have anything to do with where he's come from or anything like that. He's like literally interviewing him at face value or researching him at face value with like a fresh mind and being like, whoa, like this shit's wild. Like anybody else kind of thing.
Oh, no. So Philip Deeslip, and if you ever like need to know more about Yogi Bhajan, you can find he's on so many podcasts and he's got this really great paper that I'll post in the show notes. He was like wanted to know what the like how did this legend start? Like where did it begin? How did this guy come to be? And so he just did the digging, and what he found out was like opened up this whole new perspective on Bhajan and how he kind of rose to prominence. So he said that all these people were like, you're creepy, you're weird. So at first he stays with this Punjabi dentist who was like, no, you got to go. Then he stays with a man named Warren Stagg who owned a vegetarian restaurant in LA, which I think at the time was the only vegetarian restaurant in LA, called Help. And it stood for health, ecology, love, and peace. And it was there that a lot of these hippies would come back and look at a bulletin board and try to find a guru, a bulletin board. Yeah, I was like, what does this look like? I just want to know.
With thumbtacks and everything. Like,
does it have like, like those babysitting flyers where it's like, need a babysitter and it's got your number, you like rip the tag off. I was like, need guru? Yeah. So eventually he ended up being hosted. Yeah, he ended up being hosted by this woman named Judith Tyberg. And she ran the East-West Cultural Center in LA where he ended up teaching yoga.
Okay.
And she ended up firing him 3 months after, 3 months of him working there for being a creep and being inappropriate with women. And
meanwhile, where's his new baby mama and his new baby? Okay.
I guess supposedly she ended up coming to LA to be like, hey, where is this guy?
Yeah.
And I don't know what ever happened.
Okay.
Yeah, to no avail. But Judith Tyberg was a very smart lady. And for years, she didn't divulge why she fired him because she was kind of walking the walk and she didn't believe in talking shit.
Okay, that's nice of her. That's big.
Know.
That's really big.
It is really big of her, but it also is very fair to ask. And Philip Deeslip, I think I heard him kind of posit this, is that yes, however, it's fair to ask that if in keeping her silence, did it not only allow for gossip to flourish and for him to kind of take control of the narrative, but also to kind of, it ended up suppressing kind of the more predatory nature that he ends up having.
Yeah.
But in the first few months that he had been there, he amassed a huge following. And one of these followers was a woman named Pamela Dyson. He met Pamela Dyson. She was a regular at Help, that vegetarian restaurant, and was already practicing yoga, but was in need of she was on the hunt for a guru. She was
Okay.
like, I need someone to help me, to take me further. She had just recently gone through a divorce. She was only 25. She was like looking for that direction in life that she just wasn't getting.
Yeah.
She was a secretary at Warner Brothers and was just
And
kind of
this
floating.
is literally the stage in life where people are most vulnerable and will just latch on to somebody that sounds like they're selling like the good, like
Yeah.
he can help her, he can guide her, he can take her deeper into her practice and into her, self.
Yeah. So she sees an ad for a lecture at the East West Center and decides to go. And she's like, maybe this guy will be my guru. She ends up not really liking the lecturer, but she notices Bhajan in the back of the room. And he's wearing this bright pink turban. And she's like, this man is so attractive.
What? Okay.
So she's like, Mom, I'm going to get private lessons from him.
Okay. Oh my God.
Which I
need
don't
to see what he looks like.
I don't understand. I mean, he's not for me, but I mean.
But he's for somebody, right?
Yeah, he's for somebody. That's fine. So in their first session, she describes it as being kind of an interview process where he's like, okay, what is your goal? What do you want to do? Like, what are your end goals? And then they do a couple of postures. And then she lays down into a shavasana. And then as she's laying in shavasana, he puts his hand on her belly and then one hand on her boob.
Because he's like, this is your heart, but I'm going to cup your
I don't
boobs.
know. She was like, she said at first, she was like, what the fuck? But then was like, it didn't seem gropey. It seemed clinical. Like his eyes were closed and he was kind of looking off in the distance. And so she was like, okay, maybe I'm just uneducated about something. And this is like how it's supposed to be.
Ladies, just so you know, always follow your gut instinct. Don't doubt yourself.
No.
Because in this moment, she'd be wrong.
Yeah. And I think that's also, I think that this is often what happens is how people get taken advantage of is that they think like, oh, this is normal for this practice and it's me that has to work through something to make it feel okay.
Right.
And it's not.
No, your body is your body. Like,
no one should be touching your boobs.
No.
Unless you want them to touch your boobs.
I mean, in that case, have at them.
Yeah.
But until then. I'm a
hard pass. Good luck finding them.
Good
luck holding them. They're like Jell-O.
minds of their own. they're agile. They be going places.
So Bhajan kind of like hooks in Dyson by telling her like, if you want to deepen your knowledge, I can do that. I can teach you to be a teacher. And then she's
Would he then pass his lineage if he were to?
Well, then, so yeah, she would be indirect. He would be the main teacher, and she would be a Bhajan's lineage.
Right.
So he's
and then
like,
she
I
would
can
then
teach
get
you.
all the okay.
So he's like, I can teach you to be a teacher. And she's like, well, I'm kind of like going to leave the country. I don't have time. And he's like, well, we could do it just if you say that you want to do it and you commit, you can do it, but you have to promise me that you'll finish. And so she was like, I don't really know. And he's like, well, you commit or you don't commit. Like you can do it.
Yeah.
But you just need to commit to finish it. And she was like, okay, sure.
Like he made it sound like just so simple, just so black
It's
and
like,
white.
yeah,
but like you need to
it's
decide
so
now.
simple.
You need to like decide yes or decide no.
Yeah. He's
and
like,
if you decide no.
Yeah. He's basically like making her kind of like make a promise.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'll finish it. And I don't know.
That's creepy. Like, I feel like
I would be fucked up by that because I feel like
that's too stressful. That would immediately be a no for me.
It would be a no.
Yeah.
But if you do say yes, I feel like there'd always be that pressure there to like complete the thing. That,
yeah.
Like,
Which is why I lean towards no.
I know. Well, it took me a really long time. At 25, I'd be saying yes and overpromising.
Well, I just
things.
learned how to say no. I just experienced
Yeah, this
the
is
JOMO.
something that only happens in your late 30s where you're like, no.
Yeah. Because even like a month ago.
I don't know. Gen Z
yes.
has no problem with no's. I've noticed.
Oh, I
Good
like
for
that.
them.
Yeah, I like that for them.
So Pamela is introduced to other followers. And at first she's like, this is kind of a weird mix, but everyone's pretty cool and they're welcoming and very familial. So she ends up feeling very at home with this group of people. They like picnic in the park. They have barbecue.
They have like a good community.
It's like cute little community.
And it's like instant family for her.
Yeah.
Especially in a space where you feel like you don't have that. Yeah.
So originally she said that when she first met him, he's wearing a turban, a button-down shirt, slacks, and loafers with no nose ox. And as his following grew, he started wearing these long white shirts with the cotton pants. And then she says those like shoes that are pointed that she's like, what genies wear.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know what they're called, and I don't want to mispronounce it, but that's how she describes it in her book. I did recently go to a Indian wedding and saw a white person wearing them and immediately was like, bleh. However, no one else seemed to care except for me. So I don't know. I just don't want to mispronounce what they're actually called.
There's Juti slipper.
Are they really pointed?
Uh-huh.
Like going up, curving up?
Uh-huh.
Like it could take an eye out?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
then
only
those
if
are
the eye is looking directly down at the
Yeah.
ground. Yeah.
Like if you kicked someone, you wouldn't poke an eye out because it would become
Because
right
it would,
back at you.
yeah, it would be like the end of it would be rounded. Only if you pulled backwards.
So he started wearing all of this kind of garb, like what you would think of when you think of like this like yoga from like a yogi from India in the 60s. Like that's what he started dressing like. So in his classes, he taught postural yoga, meditation with Sikh philosophy, and something – and it's like I think I mentioned before, it's like kind of crazy because Sikhism and yoga are completely separate things. One is a religion. Sikhism is a religion. Yoga is not – it is not a religion at all. It's a spiritual practice, definitely not a religion. So, and I do think that you can have like Sikh philosophy in a yoga class if you are Sikh teaching yogas to other Sikhs.
Sure.
Or the philosophy without it. I don't know. I'm not saying it can't exist, but this is what he was doing at the time and selling it as Kundalini Yoga.
And it in fact was not. Okay.
And it was not. Right. It was regular
religion,
like regular yoga with Sikh philosophy, and his breath work and his like the physical practice and the breath work were like super, super intense. And the way that he would do it would make a student feel high at the end of it. Have you ever done
when we do like those breathing at breathe degrees?
So when you do like Bastrika breath, which is that like really fast like so one of the things he does is that he takes a lot of the like names of things and he like brings it over and he just calls it like white. He like does a rough translation of things. So he calls it breath of fire. So he would do that. So you end up feeling like floaty and you feel like high.
Yeah.
And so one of his students, Tej Steiner, who ended up running the Toronto 3HO ashram, said that it was the sense of getting high without drugs that hooked a lot of them. Because I think that it's like the tail end of the 60s. They're like they've been going hard for years.
Yep.
And so finally they find the spiritual practice where they're like
I
able
can
to get high without doing shit.
Without damaging my whole body.
Yeah. So that's kind of what hooked a lot of them. But also that feeling can be very addicting.
Right.
So
honestly, that feeling for me when I was like, at first I was like, oh, this breathing class was like way too much because like it's dark, things are over your eyes and all I'm doing is breathing. And then all of a sudden you feel like this like rush of like crazy go through your body. That's like, and I was like, ooh, like I didn't know how to feel. But once I like kind of like accepted that, it was really cool. And I was like, that's why I would go back. And it just like sets you up proper for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So
no, I think that there's definitely a purpose for that kind of breathing. So in early 1969, only a few months after meeting Yogi Bhajan, he asked Dyson to quit her job as a secretary at Warner Brothers and to move into the house that he shared with all of his followers.
But wait, wasn't she leaving the country shortly? Anyway?
She was. She never really mentions if she left. I don't think she ended up leaving. I think that she just was
she pivoted and was like, oh.
So she ends up moving into this like shared house. And then when he asked for it, she gave him $10,000, which was her entire life savings.
What? Just because. See, that's when you know.
If they're asking for your money,
if one of my very good friends were to even ask me for $10,000, I'd be like, sure, okay. Why? All the questions asked, like, what are we doing with it? Like, maybe, like, you know what I mean? It's never just a blind, here you go, because I feel obligated to you.
No. No, I don't understand that, but apparently a lot of people do this. So he began to call her Premka, which she says in an interview I saw, she didn't realize it at the time, but it meant mistress in Punjabi, which I cannot verify.
Which is crazy because what do you mean?
I can't verify that. I mean, she says it, but when I looked it up, I kept looking up mistress in Punjab. I couldn't find it. So I'm like, I don't know if that is necessarily true. Maybe if someone knows Punjabi,
were they even
can tell me.
were they even getting physical at that point?
Not at that point. But
so he had plans already.
So she became his assistant of sorts. She ended up driving him around, helped with letter writing, transcribing his lectures. She was taking all of these texts and translating them like through him so that he could publish it.
Mm-hmm.
She also became his nighttime attendant.
The fuck is a nighttime attendant?
It was her job to massage him to sleep. And he required an attendant while he slept because sometimes he would need to leave his body to receive messages from his master. And his body would get so cold he might freeze to death.
Stop. So she's just there. Is she sleeping next to him or is she just sitting by him?
She would sit by him. She would massage him to sleep. They'd have some sex. And then she'd go back. She'd go back to a rolled up mat next to his bed and then try to stay awake just in case because
his body left.
Because one time she said that she had fallen asleep and she woke up and his body felt cold and she was like, "Oh my God, he's dying." So she's just praying and massaging him. And then all of a sudden she's like, then I could like
the window wasn't left open. It just that he wasn't wearing blankies. Like
I don't.
People get cold at night, and then you turn over and you move a blanket over. Yeah.
I have no idea. Anyways, she said that from that point on, she was like, I trained myself to only ever be half asleep so that in case he like stirred, I was there. And
what kind
it
of
is
like
high control groups. One of their tactics is sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
So that's usually one of the ways in which they disorient you to end up controlling you, which
much like my babies did when we were when I was a new
mom. When we served the cult of our children.
the cult of our children. I became forever their indentured servant.
Yeah. So in her lawsuit, eventually she ends up suing him. So in a lawsuit, she claims, quote, Bhajan demanded that I coordinate his sexual liaisons with other members of the Secretariat, meaning his whole gaggle of secretaries, and arrange for the orgies that occurred between him and several members of the Secretariat. I refused to participate in the orgies, and in making the arrangements for them, I learned later that he would then discredit me behind my back as untrustworthy and advise the other women members of the Secretariat not to trust me in any matters.
I don't understand what a man can say to a woman to get them to abide by this.
I think that they find you. So, Charles Manson.
Oh, I'm familiar.
So Charles Manson had always said that when he was targeting people, he wanted them bruised but not broken.
But he was also drugging them.
Yes, but not originally, not at first. And they would love bomb. He would pull them in when they were damaged. He knew what they needed. He knew what they needed to hear. And then he would love bomb the shit out of them.
And then they would just hang on to that love.
Yeah. And then by the time that he was drugging them, they were taking it willingly because they would have done anything.
Yeah.
And I think it's very similar here where he's just love bombing her.
And all the secretaries to make all of them be like, yeah, okay, let's do this.
And at this time, there wasn't as much, LA's big, but it didn't have that many people who were claiming to be these like guru types. And everyone was so hungry for this like spiritual awakening. I think they were like willing to go outside of their comfort zone or go beyond their own like intuition to be like, this isn't right, because they're like, something is not working anyway. So if I go outside of what I know to work, then maybe it'll lead to something great.
Right.
And it just
maybe like
doesn't.
the Hugh Hefner effect. Is that in alignment at all? Where like he's like this big name, super rich, blah, 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 gets all these girls, young girls who think the world of him and know that the life that he leads. And they essentially would do whatever he wanted.
Well, yeah, because it comes with access and power.
Mm-hmm.
Kinda. Yeah.
And he comes, Bhajan.
A ghost.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
Access and fire. It was like a little ball that fell from the tree.
Oh, maybe. I was thinking it was just like the metal of the, like
a house settling, but like the
Yeah.
metal.
The metal
settling. Metal settle. Don't worry, it's just metal settle.
It's just metal settle. But yeah, so I think it's similar. I think that people were uneducated on what a relationship between a student and a teacher should look like. Actually, wait. Pause this because I actually have notes. Okay, back on. Back on. Okay, so I had written this like little kind of guru student primer that I was like, maybe we'll do a whole episode on, but it was just kind of too much.
Mm-hmm.
But the guru culture, what we have in the West, is not what it was like typically back in the East, whether it was Buddhist or Sikh or Hindu, like it was all kind of different. And Rob Priest, a Buddhist author and psychotherapist, writes in his book, The Noble Imperfection, that a guru/disciple relationship can be valuable, but because of the ignorance or kind of the naivety of Westerners not knowing what a healthy guru-disciple relationship should look like and lack of understanding on the guru's part as to the nature of Western psychological makeup, it can be super toxic.
Yeah.
So,
and that's honestly, like, unfortunately, what I feel like has been a
recurring
pattern.
theme.
Yeah, recurring theme.
So, yeah, Priest says, quote, in its simplest sense, transference occurs when unconsciously a person endows another with an attribute that actually is projected from within themselves. Giving this power over to someone else, they have a certain hold and influence over us that is hard to resist, while we become enthralled or spellbound by the power of the archetype. With transference, we give that person power over us, which carries the potential for great insight and inspiration, but also the potential for danger.
Yeah. Like,
look at me doing that research.
Yeah, you and you would want to feel like you can trust this person because there's a lot of opportunity for all that good insight and all the the goodness that can come along with it. Mm-hmm. But it seems to be that recurring theme that these are all like really yucky people.
Yeah, and I think that
which sucks.
I don't think that Bhajan started out with good intentions. However, I think a lot of people do start out with good intentions and it goes awry once they have power.
Once the power gets involved.
To money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in December of 1970, Bhajan took 84 of his followers on a trip to India. They spent months learning about Indian customs and protocols for places of worship. They were supposed to stay at Gobind Siddhan, the ashram run by Maharaj Versa Singh, and were told, do not talk about yoga at the ashram. And they were like, that's kind of weird.
What? Yeah.
That's weird because it's a Sikh ashram. It's not a yoga ashram.
Mm-hmm.
And in Sikhism, you don't meditate to find spiritual enlightenment. Like, that's not a part of their practice. That's not – so it kind of has no place there.
Right. He's like, don't talk about it because I've done this all wrong and have been teaching it to you guys all wrong. And if you guys bring it up, it's going to essentially out me. And we're like, I'm going to have this shitstorm to deal with.
Yeah, pretty much. So the trip was very weird and tense, and it led to a break between Versa Singh and Bhajan.
I'm thinking, why would he even do that? That's like flying too close to the sun almost. Like that's a big risk that he's taking on by bringing them all.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what his thinking was. I think it was a little bit of an ego thing. So the particulars aren't very clear. Bhajan said that Versa Singh wanted him to hand his students over to him. Then he said that Versa Singh wanted him to align politically behind somebody, and he was like, I can't be bought. And it kind of makes no sense because he's a nobody in India.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would he be asking for him to align again, like, with somebody? But what we do know is that when they arrived, BBG and his kids were with Versa Singh.
Like with
him. Like they were staying at the ashram because he left them.
Yeah.
And so they were
High
staying
and
with
dry.
them. And so apparently he had told Pamela Dyson that when he arrived, his wife didn't stand on his side with him. She was standing with Versa Singh. And that was a big slap in the face. But like,
as it should have been.
Also,
he should have got a drop kick to the face.
Yeah. But also there was a lot of tense words, a lot of kind of like fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And Pamela Dyson says that like BBG was upset the whole trip. Like her face was like swollen from crying a ton.
Oh.
And
at this point, how long had he been gone?
Like quite a while.
Yeah.
Maybe like a year or so.
Yeah.
Maybe longer.
Maybe longer. It sounds like it would have been longer.
1970. So if he left it, so 2 years.
Okay.
So 2 years, but it was like late 70.
God, he got a lot of bullshit done in 2 years.
He got a lot of bullshit done. So my thought, and this is pure speculation, is that he probably showed up and Versa Singh was probably like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
You left your wife. You have all
3
these
kids.
random ass white people here.
What have you brought these 84 white people?
Yeah, like what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And so he probably called him on it and it led to tension.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Like, that is my guess.
What did he expect bringing all these people? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What did he think was going to happen?
Yeah. Pamela Dyson was also 3 months pregnant.
Fuck.
And he arranged for her to go to some back alley to get an abortion.
Oh,
which was
and
also,
she did it?
Yeah, which was also illegal because it was illegal in America at the time, but it was also illegal
in India.
And she had been like, I want to keep the baby. This can be good. This can be good. And he was like, no. He arranged it and she did it.
Oh my God.
So they end up leaving Gobind Sadan super abruptly. Like they were like, pack your stuff. We got to go.
Yeah.
And ended up staying at a mango farm instead. They travel around India, going to all these different places of worship. And on the last day, he brings like the 80 some odd white people to the Golden Temple, which is this like magnificent, beautiful.
I've seen pictures of it. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. So he brings them there and then inducts them into Sikhism. None of the tourists knew what was happening.
No.
Yeah. And one woman who was there said…
And it's all in like a different language and you know they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, they had no idea. One woman who was there says, quote, I didn't know the ceremony was affirming an agreement to live the life of a Sikh. I now understand that this could cause Indian Sikhs to be furious with Yogi Bhajan. What we did was a desecration of a sacred ceremony and it was not appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely not. Oh, I'm glad that she made that statement because she's like, I want
she didn't know that until that was a recent statement.
Oh my God.
Because she had no idea.
No, not at the time probably.
And so it's also important to note that, I've already talked about this. Sikhs, the Sikhis, they don't practice yoga. Well, it's not part of
separate things.
It's not part of their religion.
Right.
They aren't vegetarian. They don't revere living gurus. They don't wear exclusively white. So what he's selling is not Sikhism. It's this like
it's a hybrid of whatever he wanted to put together.
Like whatever he just
and
was
put a
like
name on it and
call
call it
shit in there.
Yeah.
So on the way home, Dyson suffers a massive hemorrhage from the botched abortion. Is hospitalized in London and is left there alone while everyone else goes on to the U.S.
Oh my God. And he obviously goes on to the U.S. with everybody else because he's like, don't care.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know.
That's so scary. Oh my God. Can she have kids?
Yeah, she ended
up having kids. Okay.
So from this point on, Bhajan's historical narrative changes. He starts saying that his personal guru was Guru Ram Das, and the story about him going to Gobind Sadan to clean became him going to the Golden Temple to worship Guru Ram Das. He also, I know, I'm like still glitching.
Yeah.
He also kind of says that there's this other teacher named Sant Hazara Singh, but there is
nothing else you can find to support that.
No. And Philip Deeslip was like, I don't think this person
exists
at all.
Yeah.
He's like kind of creating this lineage to like give himself legitimacy.
Right. To give himself more of that like not clout,
So,
but
yeah, and it's like this person, this Sant Hazara Singh, who supposedly taught him when he was 8 and declared him a master of Kundalini Yoga at 16 and a half. So he's now created this new narrative, created this lineage for himself, and has made himself some kind of like wonderkind or wonderkind? Wonderkind? What does he
Sure.
say? What does he say on Ted Lasso? They call him
you don't
Wonder
want to
Kid.
ask me because I
Okay.
thought it was Wonder Kid.
Yeah, but remember the whole time he's like, it's not Wonder Kid. Oh, yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
always thought it was
I don't know
Wonder
what
Kid.
it is. I thought it actually was Wonder Kid for a long time until it's like Wonderkind. Wonderkind. I don't know. Anyway, he's made himself a boy genius, basically, of Kundalini Yoga.
A self-proclaimed boy genius who was
not to be confused with the amazing band.
But he literally created himself at a very young age, which is kind of scary. Like when you think about it, like all the people who have done something like this, who've created themselves, who live in their own like world of reality, kind of start young.
Well, no, none of that was true. He didn't practice yoga at all when he was 8.
know, but he
so
made
he's
it
just
up.
lying up. Oh, yeah.
He starts like creating this
He's like,
psychological.
oh, what? You became a guru when you were like 20?
I
was
became
16,
a guru. Yeah, exactly.
bitch.
Like
Yeah.
one-upper for life. And then
ultimate one-upper.
yeah, and then they just like, I don't know. I feel like with a lot of the stories that I've bumped into, they all kind of like were born that way.
Yeah. A weird quest
Yeah.
for like power and
Yeah.
recognition.
Yeah.
So the community grew rapidly. Bhajan would teach classes, dub students teachers, and then send them out in the world with little knowledge to start their own yoga centers and ashrams. He often taught celibacy outside of marriage and would arrange marriages.
Isn't it ironic?
On the spot, I know, in order to make sure no funny business happened between the single folk.
Oh my God.
There would be mass weddings, and they would often just be very poor matches that people would just be stuck with because they were like, well, I mean, this is what my guru told me to do.
Oh my God.
By the mid-70s, they had a ton of businesses making them millions of dollars. There was Golden Temple restaurants, Kettle Chips,
No.
Yogi Tea.
No.
I know, my favorite tea. My favorite tea is
I
Yogi Tea.
cannot.
They're not owned by them anymore.
Okay, they were bought out.
They were bought out by someone else.
Kettle
but-
Chips too?
Yes, Kettle Chips
Okay.
were also bought out. Sunshine Oils, which I don't know, but also a call security who mostly runs like ICE detention centers, which is like the most un-yoga shit that you could possibly
I don't know
do.
how that aligned. I don't know how that came into fruition.
It doesn't. Well, money.
Money. But I'm just like.
I know. So they started a ranch in New Mexico, and they would hold these huge summer solstice celebrations there. So it was kind of like it was like Kundalini Coachella, basically. So it was like they'd all go, they would do like hours, days-long
Sounds
meditations.
fun.
There would be music and chanting, and it probably was fun. There was also women's camps, and I'll pause for you to crack. So there was also a women's camp, which I saw a video of, and I was gross.
Yeah. Dang.
It was
I was
really
hoping
gross.
it was going to be, I don't know what I was hoping it was going to be.
It was like
given the
him
story,
sitting
but-
there, and he's like, "Hugh, come here, sexy. Do this pose. Look at her. She's so
What?
sexy."
And that's a woman's camp.
So fucking disgusting. So Bhajan, I think a lot of people thought that he was very like feminist because some of the stuff he said was like seemed to pander to like a more feminist crowd, but he had very patriarchal views of women. He would often say that when a woman hits 30, she reaches her peak, and after 40, it's all downhill.
Oh my God.
Mind you, his wife
Fuck
is
him.
over 40 at this point.
Fuck him.
Pamela Dyson also would say he would verbally abuse BBG in a way that seemed unlike the way he presented himself in public. And then he would just be like—
So she got to sit there and like figure out how they interact even? Or was it just in the short time they were there?
Because she was his personal assistant, and she ended up being like— he ended up calling her the Secretary General, which gave her this like big position of power. But she was like glued to him. She slept in their bedroom.
What?
Every night, yeah.
With BBG.
I don't think that BBG and
Tell
him
me
slept
she
together.
never went back. Tell me that it never like that BBG never went back to him and that they never.
Oh, no. They were married until he died.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Love that for her.
Yeah. So she said that he was like just so awful to her. And he was like, this is how sometimes I have to teach people so that they can learn. And she was just like, he was my guru. He knows best. So I was just like, blah, blah, blah. Like, sure.
That shit's so wild to me.
I know.
That shit is so wild to me.
He's pretty gross. And so the community was expanding. These businesses were raking in millions of dollars, but the people were very poor. They give
everything.
They
to
gave
him.
everything to him. They were giving inheritances. They were handing over life insurance policies from parents that had passed away.
Oh my God.
And then they were working for either free or for minimum wage in all of these businesses.
And just promised to be
and
a
they
part
were
of the
just like,
community.
we're furthering the
It's
cause.
for-
We're
yeah.
furthering the cause. We're like spreading peace and love. And also because these people were being arranged in these marriages, they were also having babies. And these babies were born into this weird brand of Sikhism
very
that
yellow
was
jelly.
not Sikhism, but they thought that it was
It's
Sikhism.
what they knew to be Sikhism.
Yeah. And so they started to gain more political influence, meeting with high-profile leaders around the world. Bhajan created a lot of enemies in the Punjab and Sikh communities in India, which created a high level of security, which another high control group tactic is also making you feel like you are in a sense of like there's a sense of danger, that you're only safe with the people that you're with.
Like a paranoia that he's created.
Yeah, like a paranoia that anyone outside is trying to get at you. So Pamela Dyson said that oftentimes she would get calls from him when she was on diplomatic trips, and he would be like, there's intel that there's a plot to assassinate you.
You better do this.
And then she would be like, he saved me. He was there. He cares about me.
I'm forever indebted to him.
So during this time, she was seeing less of him because of the growth of 3HO. 3HO is the company the organization, and it stands for Happy, Holy, Healthy, or Happy, Healthy, Holy, or something like that.
Okay.
3
H.
3 H's. She was seeing less of him because of this growth, but was also very much in love with him. And at this point, she was over 30. So
she's already past her peak.
Already peaked.
Yeah.
And he'd already moved on to the much younger staff. At one point, she fell in love with another aide, and she went to Bhajan and was like, I want to be married to this guy.
And he was like, no. Shut up.
He made her marry him off to a rando, made her perform the ceremony. He just picked someone out and he was like, yeah, you're going to marry this person. Made her perform the ceremony.
Oh my God.
Yeah. In the mid-'80s.
So she's like watching, essentially performing the ceremony for her loved one to be married off to somebody else.
Yeah. And so in the mid-'80s, she ended up leaving 3HO and moved to Hawaii, ended up marrying that guy.
Yeah.
He was like,
so he found her.
He was like, I mean, I've always been in love with you. I was doing what was right by this. But me and my wife, we have a very platonic relationship. And they ended up like leaving and going to Hawaii and getting married, having a baby. But Bhajan was pissed. As these types do, they get super pissed when anyone tries to leave. So he talked shit and eventually called on Tej Steiner, who was he was running 3HO in Toronto, and he was like, please talk some sense into her. She's insane. So he ends up hearing that like him and Dyson and Bhajan had been having an affair. And so he calls her and he's like, hey, is this true? And she was like, everything is true. And so he was like, Bhajan gathered very quickly that Dyson had told him everything.
Yeah.
And he says to Steiner, quote, I know that you know certain things. I just want to tell you that there's so many people who love me in this family. So many people, and some of them have guns. If you tell people what you know, I'm not responsible for what they might do. They are crazy and they love me that much.
That's so crazy. That is so crazy. How about a threat without a threat?
Yeah.
How about the dance around the threat?
Yeah. So Steiner ended up writing a letter to the Kundalini leadership writing, quote, can we openly question our spiritual teacher's actions without punitive measures taken against us? If we hold any leader above this accountability, we move from being a dharma to being an occult.
1000%. I love that was worded that way too, because it just leaves no room for like a no.
Yeah. So in turn, he was attacked by leadership and
God
ended
damn
up
it.
leaving.
No.
Yeah. In 1994, they joined the UN as a non-governmental organization representing women's issues, human rights, and providing education about alternative systems of medicine.
Good for him.
No, that's not him. That's what they did.
Oh.
Which is like super ironic.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
Wait.
were like,
oh, I thought that's what he went and turned around when.
No, I wish.
That was too good.
He seems like a chill guy.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is just what they were doing to like, while all of this is going on.
Yeah.
This is what
I bet
they're
you they're
doing.
just trying to shiny object it and be like,
Yeah.
We wouldn't do that. Look at all this other good we're doing. That doesn't align.
Yeah. So in 1996, 3HO started the Mary Perry Academy. The idea was called distance therapy. Bhajan believed that America would fuck up all these kids born into 3HO with drugs and like their basically dumbass way of thinking.
So we sent them away.
So he's like, they sent them to boarding schools, to farms, to live with other families. And then in 1996, they started their own academy. At first, I think that people thought like, oh, you're right, this is a good idea. But at the schools, the kids were isolated, they were abused and neglected.
Yeah.
The school taught mostly about this invented history of Bhajan.
This like fake.
Yeah, like this fake history of Bhajan and his teachings and not any academics. So when they left the school, college isn't really an option. They don't
they have nothing. They can't even test in.
No, they have nothing. And so there's multiple accounts of women returning from school and being placed in the secretarial staff and being raped or molested.
They were fucked from the jump.
Yeah. Often no one spoke up because they didn't want to out the man that meant so much to their community.
That is crazy to me.
Trigger warning. Rape and sexual assaults. So Kate Felt, a woman who had been groomed to enter his secretariat, alleges she was raped violently by Bhajan with the help of her sister.
With the help of her sister?
Yeah. She says that her sister held her down and they both beat her. And
like her actual sister?
Her actual
or like do they call
sister.
each other sisters?
No, actual sister.
Oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
That is disgusting. I mean, rape is disgusting in general, but like the way in which that was done is just so like gruesome. Like,
yeah, I was shocked at that one.
There is nothing in like, it's hard for me to jump into the mindset of all these people that do these awful things because these are seemingly like they start off as like regular people, like good people. I feel like people are good in general until they're not, right? But I feel like what goes through this is all a big mindfuck. How does one person start like this and end up like this, still under the guise that they're doing the right thing?
Yeah.
So, I don't understand. Like, I would not, like, just never.
No.
Like, that's such a hard thing for me to picture. It's something I've never pictured in my life. But to wrap my head around a sister helping a bad guy rape her sister is fucking like, I don't know.
No.
Can't reconcile that.
That is bad karma.
No. That's the baddest.
The baddest karma. One woman said that in the late fall of 1990, this is a quote. In the late fall of 1990, I was cleaning. He made me stand up, asked me to twirl around, and then he proceeded to put both of his hands on my breasts. He squeezed them. He turned me around, did the same to my butt. I was scared. We were alone. I was mortified. He said, "You're almost ready," and turning out very nicely.
You're almost ready and turning out very nicely. Like, I'm sizing you. It's like he poked a turkey and was like, or you know what I mean? Like, did a temp check and was like, almost. Like, you're looking good.
This girl is like straight out of high school.
It's fucking sad.
Super disgusting. A lot of women thought this was normal. And despite instinctively knowing that it wasn't.
They grew up in.
Yeah. Well, so they, I think, instinctively were like, this isn't right. But they were raised in the community, and Yogi Bhajan was known to say a woman's duty is to be a saint in the kitchen and a hooker in the bedroom. That was like a known saying.
It's like a rap song.
And in 1978, he even said, quote, "Rape is always invited. It never happens. A person who is raped is always providing subconsciously the environments and the arrangements."
Okay. No.
No.
And the second somebody says that, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, absolutely not.
Absolutely
In what world?
not. I feel like he had raped a good amount of people at this point and was just trying to backtrack to make them, like, publicly gaslighting
They
him.
let me do
and then
it.
using
They
his
invited
followers
me.
to gaslight others.
I never did it out of malice or bad intent. They set the standard, or they set the stage for me. I just danced.
Yeah. So over the years, 3HO continued to grow and its shady dealings flew mostly under the radar. There was like drug rings, there was weird smuggling things. Yogi Bhajan died of heart failure in 2004 at his ranch in New Mexico. His death was mourned pretty widely, and his students were left mostly without a spiritual leader. But this narrative that he was a holy sage kind of just kept perpetuating.
Are there still people today?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So in 2020, Pamela Dyson wrote a book called Premka, in which she details their relationship and the abuse she experienced. In an interview, she said she was terrified to publish the book, despite him being dead at like almost 15 years at this point. She was still like so scared of him to even publish it.
Because of all of his followers, and they love him so much. And what would they do if they hurt,
Yeah.
They have guns. You never know. Like,
yeah.
But that's like what, that's the stage that he set for everybody. Like, that's the vision that he set. So everybody's scared.
Yeah. So when Dyson released her book, it opened a floodgate, and allegations poured in, a lot of the sexual misconduct, and a lot of it with minors. One woman claimed that a lot of this misconduct happened with her father in the room with her, and he seemed to think that she was his ticket to the inner circle. One woman claimed that
is so disgusting.
I know.
That is so disgusting. Like, here, go ahead. I'll give you my daughter if it's gonna elevate my status.
Yeah. One woman claimed she talked to 2 teenagers. She was a therapist at the time, and they separately told her that Bhajan had told them that he would have sex with them to clear their karma. He was also physically abusive to his followers. There was multiple accounts of him getting into arguments and then just decking somebody. And they thought, oh, well, he has the right more than anybody because he's taking on all of our karma, because he kept saying like, oh, I'm taking all of this on for you. I'm doing this all for you. I didn't want to be
Jesus.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't want this position.
He's paid for my sins, so this is the least I could do. Like,
yeah.
I'm, again, forever indebted.
One follower said he was known to just kick the shit out of people and laugh.
What the fuck? See, and then like, I get it, like the kids who are like raised in that, like thinking, okay, this is just the way it is.
Yeah.
But for everybody else who like slowly transformed into whatever they were.
But isn't it kind of like the frog in the boiling water, right?
You sit there long enough, you don't know it's
you
getting
don't
hotter.
know. It's like slowly these changes happen. Another abuse that came to light that's not really a thing is something Bhajan called psychic surgery, in which he would just verbally abuse and unleash on someone to break them down.
Like
in front of a whole group of people. He would call women whores and prostitutes in front of everyone, exhibiting a display of power for just like basically no reason, and then be like, it's for your own good.
It's
and
for your own
sometimes
good.
That's just how you have to teach people.
Buck up, buttercup, or whatever, however that's said.
Yeah. He would also regularly belittle his followers in Punjabi. He would point to them and be like, they're my poodles, they'll do anything I say. So Tej Steiner says that quote, the primary means of control that Yogi Bhajan used with all of us was through endless prescriptive instruction. He had teachings on every subject imaginable, including what kind of clothes to wear, how to eat, what a certain posture or meditation would do for your spleen, nervous system, or soul. He told us in which direction to sleep, how to cure allergies, depression, and impotency, who to marry, how to educate our children, and of course, how to go to the bathroom properly. There were thousands and thousands of these prescriptions. In fact, his teaching was almost entirely prescriptive. Do this and you will get that. And he'd make them eat these like crazy, shitty, like crazy things, like shitty, which is, again, another tactic of high control groups.
Yeah.
One diet was just watermelon.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Then there was a greens only diet. And then these people were vigorously exercising every day because they were spending like 6 hours
and hours and hours doing yoga.
Like, yoga. Yeah. and eating almost nothing. And members were told if they disobeyed or they left, they would get sick and die. He told Kate Felt, that woman who was raped with the help of her sister, that it was her destiny to be sexually attacked and die in a car crash.
What the fuck?
So
if
she
left,
yeah, and she thought
she would be sexually,
this is my destiny. No. That's always her destiny.
Oh, I thought that was a scare tactic to keep her in.
He was like, this is your destiny. I'm just helping you.
I'm just helping you along the destiny. And then one day you're going to get in a car crash and die.
And just like Tej Steiner, many of the followers were threatened with death if they revealed any of what they knew. So in March of 2020, Siri Singh Sahib Corporation, which is the company that runs 3HO, commissioned an independent investigation into the allegations by a company called an Olive Branch. And they released a report that said that the allegations were, quote, more likely than not to be true. A lot of people raised and who belong to 3HO have been helped by the organization and do believe what he told them to be true. So it's not like
they don't think they're out there committing bad.
No, they're not out there actively deceiving anybody because they were raised. But now there's this whole generation of people who identify as Sikhs, who have a huge difference in beliefs than the Sikhs who come from the East. And so it's just like a very weird, and I'm sure it's really, really hard to be in this place to know that how you were raised, all of it was
lies,
based on
lies and made up by this really awful.
And so it's not
being.
like the whole community was in on it, but a lot of them were complacent with this abuse. And when a lot of this came out, a lot of the high profile teachers just doubled down in support of Bhajan and his legacy.
What?
Yeah. A lot of people were like, no, these are all liars. None of this happened.
All of these people, all of these victims essentially are liars.
Yeah. One of them is Guru Jagat, who we will meet next week and is truly unhinged.
Oh my God, more than this guy? More than Bhajan?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. This is all bad.
I know. I'm not smiling because it's awful.
I'm smiling because I'm uncomfortable.
Because I'm not sure how this happened and my face doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, no, I do see how this happened. I do see how this happens. And it is really unfortunate. I think for even people who weren't necessarily directly impacted by Bhajan, his actions created this complete whole community where people suffered and who are still suffering as they try to struggle with this identity where they're like, I thought I was a Sikh, and apparently all I learned
are all lies.
Yeah.
Is fake. This is all fake stuff.
Yeah.
Put together by some guy who convinced us that he is the end-all, be-all, knows-all, has answers to all things. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. I don't understand a world in which that this could happen, but it does, and it can, and it is happening. I just don't like when it's a smaller group, right? It's but once it snowballs and becomes bigger and bigger, it's harder to stop and harder to,
Yeah, it's like hundreds of thousands of people.
That's crazy to me, though. The hundreds because a lot of them are now born into it because it's gone on for this long,
and then they have no choice.
No, because and everybody they know and are close to, they're all into it, and then to get out of it is like turning their backs on everything.
Well, and even like Pamela Dyson.
But did they even want to get out of it? No, but I didn't hear.
I think that Pamela Dyson says that there was multiple times where she was like, I need to get out of here, but she was like, I don't have anywhere to go. I have no money because I've given all my money to him.
Yeah.
I know nobody because I've isolated myself from my family. Because they're like, if they're not on your path, you get rid of them.
Yeah. So how is she going to turn around and go back to them?
Yeah. What would she have? She'd have nothing.
Nothing. But so she ends up suing him.
I believe that she ends up suing the 3HO organization after he's gone. I believe. Or he's close to death. Or was later in life.
Damn.
I know. What should we call this one?
The first thing I think of is like not even the biggest part of the story. It's just
That
what stabbed me.
The lady sister spiritually
the
fucked.
sister. Yeah.
That sister is spiritually fucked.
Sister. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people are spiritually fucked, but specifically that sister. She should be the hardest to be spiritually fucked.
Yeah. I'm feeling shooketh.
Yeah.
By the idea. So yeah, that sister.
That's that sister. I bet you I can find her name.
I want you to find her name. Oh my God, what if she's still alive?
I think she is.
So many people are spiritually fucked.
So many people are spiritually fucked. That is it.
This
is a wild, terrible one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that is it for today.
Yeah. Follow us on
at Spiritually F Podcast on Instagram.
And then rate and review us.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
We have no other things.
Right?
Yeah.